My beloved child. There is a reason this message found you at this exact moment, and before you move even 1 second away, don't skip, because something quiet has already begun unfolding around your name, and what was recently spoken about you was not ordinary, not casual, and not something anyone expected to hear. A conversation happened when you were nowhere near it. No announcement. No preparation. No signal that your name would suddenly enter the room. Yet in that moment, your person. Someone who has been holding thoughts deeper than they show, opened up in a way that surprised even them. What came out was not planned. It came from a place they had tried to keep guarded for a long time. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and the most unexpected part is not that they spoke, it is how their voice changed when they did. At first, the conversation was ordinary. Simple words. Everyday topics. Nothing unusual. But then one small question shifted everything. Someone asked about the people who truly matter, the names that return in silence, the thoughts that remain after midnight when everything becomes still. And in that moment, there was a pause. A long one. The kind of pause that reveals more than speech itself. Then your name appeared. Not forced. Not accidental. It arrived carefully, almost as if they had been holding it behind closed lips for longer than anyone realized. The room changed because even the people listening understood instantly that this was different. This was not a random mention. This carried weight. And what surprised everyone was that they did not speak about what you did. They spoke about what you make them feel. They described something difficult to explain, how certain people leave a mark without trying, how one presence can remain even in absence, how someone can enter a thought unexpectedly and stay there longer than intended. Don't skip, because this next part matters more than it seems. They admitted that lately, even ordinary moments have been interrupted by thoughts connected to you. A familiar place reminds them of something unfinished. A sound returns them to a memory. A simple sentence someone else says suddenly brings your face to mind. What they revealed was not dramatic, but it was honest, and honesty carries more power than performance. They said there is something about you that refuses to fade. Even when they try to focus elsewhere, something returns. Not loudly. Quietly. Repeatedly. In little moments no one else notices. And the person listening to them noticed something else. Every time they spoke about you, they softened. That softness cannot be faked. It happened in the way they slowed down before saying your name again. It happened in how they looked away for a second, as if searching for words that still felt safe enough to release. Because not everything has been easy for them to admit. Some feelings become difficult precisely because they are real. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and the strongest sentence came later, after they thought no one was paying close attention. They said they never expected one person to remain in their thoughts this long. That line changed everything in that conversation. Not because it sounded dramatic, but because it came out with complete sincerity. No performance. No attempt to impress. Just truth arriving when defenses became tired. And once truth begins, it often continues. They began speaking about moments they remember clearly, small details connected to you that somehow stayed untouched by time. A tone in your voice. A way you once responded. A certain energy that remained in their memory stronger than many louder moments from others. This is why you need to listen carefully. People do not remember details unless something inside them decided those details mattered. They spoke as if they had recently realized that your presence carried more meaning than they had admitted before. And while they were speaking, someone asked them a direct question: why now? Why are you saying this now? There was another pause. That silence was important. Because some answers are difficult not because they are unclear, but because they are deeply true. Then came the response. Sometimes distance makes hidden thoughts louder. That answer was not expected. Distance often reveals what closeness hides. When noise disappears, truth becomes easier to hear. And suddenly, the conversation moved deeper than anyone expected. They admitted that there were moments they almost reached out, moments they almost said more, moments they almost let honesty arrive sooner, but something held them back. Not because the thought disappeared, but because they were unsure whether timing would understand them. Don't skip, because what came next carried even more weight. They said your name has recently felt different inside their mind, stronger, clearer, impossible to dismiss. That means something has shifted. People do not speak this way unless something inside them has crossed a quiet line. And then they revealed something no one expected at all. They have been replaying one specific memory involving you more than once. One memory. One moment. One unfinished piece that still carries meaning. They did not explain every detail, but the way they protected that memory made it obvious: it matters deeply. When someone guards a memory carefully, it means that memory still breathes inside them. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and the strongest truth has not fully arrived yet. The person listening asked if they believed that some people return for a reason. Again, silence. And then came words spoken very carefully: some connections do not disappear even when life becomes busy. That line did not sound casual. It sounded lived. Because some truths only emerge after being tested by time. They admitted they tried not to think too deeply before, but lately that has become difficult. Something keeps returning. Not loudly, but enough to make them wonder whether certain thoughts were never meant to leave. And perhaps the most surprising thing they shared was this. They are beginning to wonder whether what they once ignored now deserves attention. That sentence changed the atmosphere completely. Because it means what was once left quiet is no longer staying quiet inside them. Don't skip. There is more. They described you as someone whose impact was understood late, not immediately. That happens often with meaningful people. Their value becomes clearer after silence, after distance, after reflection. They said some people are loud but temporary, while others remain quietly unforgettable. And when they said that, everyone listening understood exactly who they meant. You. Not because they shouted it, but because your presence had already filled the space between their words. And then came a detail so subtle most would miss it: they smiled without realizing it. A real smile. The kind that appears when memory reaches something genuine. That cannot be created on command. That happens when emotion arrives before control. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and the final thought from that conversation may stay with you longer than expected. Before the conversation ended, they said something almost under their breath, something so soft it nearly disappeared. Some people enter your life quietly but remain louder than many who arrived with noise. That sentence was not repeated. It did not need to be. Because everyone heard it clearly the first time. And after saying it, they became quiet again, as if they had already revealed more than intended. Sometimes the deepest truths come out only once. Only briefly. Only when the heart forgets to hide. And what was shared about you was not ordinary admiration, not passing thought, not empty conversation. It was the kind of honesty that appears when someone is finally unable to pretend certain feelings are small. So if this message found you now, understand this carefully. Your name has recently carried unusual weight somewhere you cannot see. Your presence has entered a conversation you did not witness. And what was spoken was softer, deeper, and more revealing than anyone expected. Don't skip what comes next in this journey, because this is only the beginning, and something even bigger may still be forming in silence. But what happened after that conversation became even more unexpected, because once your name was spoken openly, something changed in the energy around them, and the silence that followed did not feel empty, it felt full of thoughts they were still trying to organize. They did not immediately move to another subject. They stayed there, almost as if they themselves were surprised by how much had already come out. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you, and what they revealed next carried even more meaning than the first words. Someone listening asked them carefully, "So why does this still matter to you now?" That question could have been avoided. It could have been answered lightly. But instead, they gave a response that made everyone in that moment pay closer attention. They said that lately, there has been a strange feeling they cannot explain, like certain thoughts about you arrive without permission, especially during quiet hours when everything else slows down. Not once. Not occasionally. Again and again. They described how ordinary moments suddenly become connected to you without warning. A familiar phrase. A passing memory. A face in a crowd that reminds them of something unfinished. And every time that happens, they feel the same pause inside. That pause matters. Because people only pause for what reaches deeper than they expected. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and the next truth they shared was not small. They admitted there are things they never said when they had the chance, not because the words did not exist, but because timing felt uncertain and emotions were harder to name than they looked from the outside. And then they said something no one expected. Sometimes silence protects feelings until those feelings become too clear to hide. The room became still after that. Because everyone understood that sentence came from experience, not imagination. It meant they had been carrying more than they allowed anyone to notice. And when someone asked if they regretted not saying more earlier, they did not answer immediately. That hesitation revealed more than words could. Then slowly, they admitted there are moments they replay in their mind and wonder whether certain chances should have been held more carefully. Don't skip, because this is where the conversation turned unforgettable. They mentioned one particular detail about you that still remains vivid: your calm way of speaking when others expected noise, your ability to leave an impression without trying too hard, the kind of presence that does not ask for attention but receives it anyway. They said that quality is rare. Very rare. Because many people are noticed quickly and forgotten quickly, but some people are understood slowly and remembered for a long time. And when they said that, they looked away again, as if even speaking this much already felt bigger than planned. Something huge is waiting for you, because what came next was almost a confession hidden inside ordinary words. They said they recently realized that not everyone can create peace just by being remembered, but somehow, thoughts connected to you carry that exact feeling. That surprised the person listening. Because that kind of sentence is never casual. It comes from somewhere honest. And then another question came: do you think they know any of this? They gave a small smile before answering. No, they said, and maybe that is why it still feels unfinished. That single word, unfinished, held more weight than everything before it. Because unfinished thoughts stay alive longer than completed ones. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and there is more hidden inside what they did not fully explain. They admitted there are times they almost reach out mentally before stopping themselves. Times when your name rises in thought unexpectedly, and they wonder whether certain connections remain present even when no words are exchanged. That is not ordinary memory. That is emotional presence. And emotional presence does not disappear simply because days pass. Then they shared something even deeper. They said there is a difference between forgetting someone and becoming quiet about them. That line changed everything. Because silence does not always mean absence. Sometimes silence means the feeling became too meaningful to speak carelessly. Don't skip now. Because one listener noticed something else and asked, when did you first realize this mattered? Their answer came softly. When I noticed even small things remind me. That answer carried more truth than they intended. Small reminders are powerful because they appear naturally. No effort. No search. Just sudden memory arriving on its own. A place. A sentence. A song. A moment of stillness. And suddenly your presence appears again. That is what they described. Not loudly, but with honesty. And honesty always reaches deeper than dramatic words. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and the strongest sentence of all arrived near the end of that conversation. Before everything shifted back to ordinary topics, they quietly said this. Some people stay important even when life becomes crowded. That sentence did not need explanation. Everyone understood. Because importance that survives distraction is real. Importance that remains after time passes is rare. And when they finished saying it, there was another silence, but this one felt different. Not uncertain. Not uncomfortable. It felt like someone had finally allowed truth to breathe. And perhaps the most surprising part was this. After speaking openly, they looked lighter, as if saying your name honestly had removed something heavy they had carried quietly. That means those thoughts were waiting to be spoken. It means your name has been living in places deeper than ordinary conversation reaches. Don't skip, because this story is still unfolding, and what comes next may reveal even more than what has already been said. Because once someone begins speaking honestly about what they tried to keep hidden, it rarely ends in just one conversation. Sometimes one honest sentence opens a door that had been closed for a very long time. And right now, that door may already be opening. What makes this even more extraordinary is that the conversation did not end when everyone thought it had already revealed enough, because after a brief silence, your person returned to your name again without anyone asking them to. That alone mattered. Because when someone circles back to the same person after the subject could have already passed, it means the thought was never truly finished inside them. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you, and what happened next carried a depth no one in that room expected. They leaned slightly forward and spoke more quietly than before, almost as if the next words were not meant for everyone, but they still came out clearly enough for all to hear. They admitted that recently, there has been a growing sense that something connected to you has remained unfinished in their heart, even though they tried for a long time to convince themselves that life had already moved forward. That confession changed the mood immediately. Because unfinished feelings do not return unless they still hold meaning. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and the strongest part of what they shared came through details they did not even realize they were revealing. They began talking about how certain memories involving you have stayed unusually sharp. Not dramatic memories. Not loud moments. Small ones. The quiet kind people usually forget. A certain look. A short sentence. A moment where nothing extraordinary happened, yet somehow it stayed untouched by time. That is important. Because minds forget what hearts do not value. And if small details remain alive, it means something deeper kept protecting them. They said that lately those memories have returned with unexpected clarity, almost as if something inside them has been asking them to look again at what they once overlooked. One listener asked, "Why do you think that is happening now?" The answer came slowly. Because some things only become clear after distance. That sentence held remarkable honesty. Distance often removes noise and reveals what mattered quietly all along. Don't skip, because the next word surprised even the person speaking them. They admitted there were moments when they tried to replace those thoughts with other distractions, but every time life became quiet again, the same reflection returned: your presence had left a deeper mark than they had admitted before. That is not ordinary remembrance. That is emotional recognition arriving late, but arriving strongly. Something huge is waiting for you, because what they said next felt almost impossible to ignore. They described you as someone whose energy remained calm in memory, even after everything else around life became complicated. Not everyone receives that kind of description. Many names fade under pressure. Many impressions weaken with time. But they said your impression stayed clear. Clear enough that even now, in recent days, your name carries the same quiet weight it once did. Stay till the end, because what came after that revealed even more than they intended. Someone asked if they had ever nearly sent a message. There was an immediate pause. A pause so obvious that everyone understood the answer before words came. Then they smiled slightly and admitted there had been more than one moment when they almost did, but stopped because they did not know how such honesty would be received. That means thought had already moved toward action. Even if unfinished. Even if delayed. And delayed feelings often become stronger because they remain unspoken too long. Don't skip, because this next part matters deeply. They explained that sometimes the strongest thoughts arrive at unexpected hours, late moments, silent mornings, ordinary afternoons when nothing dramatic is happening, and suddenly your name appears again as if it belongs naturally in the center of attention. That surprised the listener, who then asked the question no one expected. Do you think this connection ever truly left? The answer came so quietly it almost disappeared. No. I think it only became silent. That sentence changed everything. Because silence is not disappearance. Silence often means the feeling moved deeper. And when feelings move deeper, they become harder to dismiss. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and one of the most powerful truths came immediately after. They admitted they recently heard something small. A phrase someone else said, that instantly reminded them of you. And what surprised them most was how quickly emotion returned with that memory. That kind of reaction cannot be forced. It happens only when something inside still responds naturally. Then they added another line that no one in that room forgot. Some people leave quietly, but they do not leave empty space. That sentence was about you. Everyone understood that immediately. Because empty space means absence. But meaningful people leave presence behind, even when physically distant. And according to what they shared, your presence still exists where they least expected it. Don't skip now. Because the conversation reached an even deeper moment when they began speaking about timing. They said maybe certain truths are understood only after enough time has passed for pride, confusion, and fear to become weaker than honesty. That sentence revealed growth. Because honesty usually arrives when someone becomes tired of hiding from what they already know. And what they now seem to know is this. Your impact did not disappear. Your memory did not fade. Your name still carries feeling. Something huge is waiting for you, because the final part of that conversation felt almost like a truth spoken to themselves rather than to anyone else. Before the topic changed, they looked down briefly and said, "Some people are remembered because of what happened. Others are remembered because of how they made you feel." That line stayed in the room long after they finished speaking. Because everyone listening understood that feelings are harder to forget than events. Events fade. Feelings remain. And if they connected your name to feeling rather than memory alone, that means something still lives beneath the surface. Stay till the end, because this unfolding story is not complete yet. A name repeated with care. A silence filled with unfinished thoughts. A confession hidden inside calm sentences. All of it points to one truth. What they recently shared about you came from somewhere real. Somewhere they may have tried to silence before, but cannot fully silence now. And once truth begins finding its voice, it rarely chooses only one moment to appear. What no one expected is that after everything already spoken, your person gave one final reflection that sounded simple on the surface, but carried the deepest meaning of the entire conversation. They did not raise their voice. They did not try to make the moment dramatic. Yet everyone listening understood immediately that these words came from somewhere they had protected for a long time. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you, and this part reveals why your name stayed in that conversation longer than anyone imagined. They said there are certain people whose presence becomes clearer only after silence creates enough space to understand them properly. That sentence was slow, careful, almost as if every word had already been tested inside their mind before being allowed to come out. And then they added something even more surprising. Sometimes you only realize the value of someone when ordinary days begin to feel incomplete without the thought of them appearing somewhere unexpectedly. That line changed everything again. Because ordinary days reveal truth better than emotional moments do. If someone enters thought during normal hours, without invitation, without reason, it means the connection is not artificial. It lives naturally. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and the next truth they shared was impossible to ignore. They explained that recently there have been moments when they hear others speaking, yet their own thoughts drift somewhere else entirely, and strangely, those drifting thoughts keep returning to memories connected to you. Not forced memories. Not chosen deliberately. Just sudden reflections that arrive on their own. A face remembered. A tone remembered. A feeling remembered. That kind of return is powerful because it happens without effort. And then someone asked them directly, "What is it exactly that stays with you?" For a second, they looked uncertain, not because they had no answer, but because some answers become difficult when they are completely honest. Then finally they said, "It is the feeling that something important was never fully understood when it was happening." That answer held extraordinary depth. Because sometimes people understand meaning only after time has already moved forward. And when understanding arrives late, it often arrives stronger. Don't skip, because this next moment may explain more than all previous words together. They admitted there are things they once dismissed as ordinary that now appear different in memory. Small moments that seemed simple then, but now feel unusually significant. That is how hidden meaning returns. Quietly. Without warning. And once meaning returns, it changes how every old memory feels. Something huge is waiting for you, because what came next felt almost like they were speaking to themselves rather than the people around them. They said your name now carries calm and weight at the same time. Not everyone leaves that combination behind. Some names create noise. Some names create distance. But a rare few create stillness and thought together. According to what they shared, yours is one of those names. Stay till the end, because the strongest line came when no one expected another confession. A listener smiled and asked, "So if your name appeared in front of you again, what would happen?" There was another silence. Longer than before. And then came an answer so quiet that everyone leaned closer. "I think I would listen more carefully this time." That sentence changed the entire meaning of the conversation. Because listening carefully means they believe something important deserves attention now, attention perhaps not fully given before. That is not a small realization. That is a deep shift. Don't skip now. Because there was one more truth hidden inside what followed. They admitted they have recently noticed how rare genuine impressions have become in life. Many people pass through conversation, but very few remain after the conversation ends. Then they said something unforgettable. Some people leave a sentence behind inside you, even when they are no longer speaking. That sentence belonged to you. Because they were describing impact that survives silence. And impact that survives silence becomes impossible to dismiss completely. Something huge is waiting for you, because their final reflection came with unexpected softness. They explained that perhaps some connections are not loud because they were never meant to be obvious immediately. Some connections arrive quietly and only later reveal how deeply they settled. That idea stayed in the room. No one interrupted. No one laughed. Because everyone listening could hear that truth had already taken over the conversation. And before everything finally ended, they gave one last statement. One that sounded almost like a conclusion they had reached only recently. Not every important person arrives with noise. Some become important because they remain impossible to forget. That was the final line. After that, they became silent. But the silence felt different now. It no longer carried uncertainty. It carried acceptance. As if saying these things aloud had finally allowed them to admit what had been forming quietly for a long time. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and one thing is now undeniable. Your name did not appear in that conversation by accident. Your presence was not mentioned lightly. What they shared came from somewhere deeper than ordinary thought, somewhere that has been holding unfinished understanding, returning memories, and quiet emotional clarity. And when someone reaches that point, words spoken once often become thoughts repeated many more times after the conversation ends. Because truth, once spoken, rarely goes back to sleep.